YouTube channel. I'm Alvin Cruz, and here's my partner.
I'm Chad Marty S. Tabuan. So today, we're gonna discuss about The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann.
Thomas Mann, or Paul Thomas Mann, was a German novelist, short story writer, social critic, philanthropist, and essayist. His highly symbolic and ironic epic novels and novellas are noted in their insight of psychological and artisan intellectual. His analysis and critique of the European and German soul used modernized versions of German and biblical stories. Mann was a member of Hanseatic Mann family and portrayed his family and class in his first novel named Baden-Brooks. His older brother was the radical writer Heinrich Mann, and three of Mann's 6 children, Erika Mann, Klaus Mann, and Golo Mann, also became significant German writers when Adolf Hitler came to power in 1993. Mann fled to Switzerland when World War II broke out in 1939. He moved to the United States, then returned to Switzerland after 1952. Mann is one of the best-known exponents of the so-called elites literature. German is literature written in exile by those who opposed the Hitler regime. Mann's works influenced many later authors such as Yukio Mishima.
His notable works are Baden-Brooks, Death in Venice, Joseph and His Brothers, Dr. Faustus, and especially the book that we are going to tackle about, The Magic Mountain. Paul Thomas Mann was born to a burgess family in Limerick, the second son of Thomas Johann Henrik Mann and his wife Julia da Silva Bruns, a Brazilian woman of German and Portuguese ancestry who emigrated to Germany with her family when she was 7 years old. His mother was a Roman Catholic, but Mann was baptized into his father's Lutheran religion. Mann's father died in 1891, and after that, his trading firm was liquidated. The family subsequently moved to Munich. Mann first studied science at a Lübeck gymnasium, then attended the Ludwig Maximilians University of Munich as well as the Technical University of Munich, where in preparation for a journalism career, he studied history, economics, art history, and literature.
This novel, published in 1924, after 12 years of intermittent labor, is a story of the self-development of a simple young man. Its hero is the hero of a Bildungsroman. Bildungsroman is a special kind of novel that focuses on the psychological and moral growth of its main character from his or her youth or to adulthood. A Bildungsroman is a story of the growing up of a sensitive person who looks for answers to his questions through different experiences. Generally, such as novels start with a loss or a tragedy that disturbs the main character emotionally. He or she leaves on a journey to fill that vacuum. During the journey, the protagonist gains maturity gradually and with difficulty, such as the plot predicts a conflict between the protagonist and the values of society. Finally, He or she accepts those values and they are accepted by society. Ending the dissatisfaction such as type of novel is also known as a coming of age novel. The action takes place at the beginning of the XX century in Switzerland, located near Davos Tuberculosis Sanatorium. The protagonist, a young German, Hans Castor, comes from Hamburg to Berghof Sanatorium to visit his cousin Joachim Ziegfeld. Hans Castor intends to spend in the resort no more than 3 weeks, but by the end of the planned period, he feels himself not very well. As a result of the medical examination, signs of tuberculosis have been revealed, and at the insistence of the chief doctor Berhans, Hans Castor stays in the sanatorium for a longer period. Ever since the arrival, Hans Castor finds that time in the mountain flows not like in the plain, and therefore it is virtually impossible to determine how many days, weeks, months, years pass between the described events and the time recovers the action of the novel. At the very end of the novel, however, it is said that Hans Castor spent in a sanatorium 7 years, but even this figure can be seen as a certain artistic convention. Strictly speaking, the story and the events happening in the novel are not important to an understanding of its meaning. They are just an excuse to oppose the different life positions of the character and give the author opportunity to express their mouths for many exciting challenges. Life, death, love, sickness and health, progress and conservatism, the fate of human civilization of the threshold of the XX century. There are few dozens of characters in the novel, mostly patients, doctors, and support staff of the sanatorium. Someone recovers and leaves Berghof, someone dies, but in their place constantly comes new. Among those with whom Hans Castor gets acquainted within the first day of his stay in the sanatorium, a special place is occupied by Mr. Ludovico Settembrini, a descendant of a Carbonari, a Mason, humanist, and a staunch supporter of progress. At the same time, like a true Italian, he passionately hates Austro-Hungary. His unusual, sometimes paradoxical ideas expressed also in a bright, often sarcastic form have a tremendous impact on the mind of a young man who begins to consider Mr. Settembrini a mentor. An important role in the history of life of Hans Castor plays his love for the Russian patient Madame Claviria Chauchat, which he opposed with all forces because of virtue obtained by his upbringing in the strict Calvinist family. It takes many months before Hans Castor to speak with his lover. It happens during the carnival before Lent and Caldivia's departure from the sanatorium. During the time spent in the sanatorium, Hans Castor seriously became interested in a variety of philosophical and natural scientific ideas. He attended lectures on psychoanalysis, seriously studies medical literature, got interested in issues of life and death, studied contemporary music, using for his own purposes the latest advance in technology. Gramophone recording, in fact, he no longer thinks of his life on the plains. He forgets that his work is waiting for him, almost broke ties with his few relatives and begins to see life in a sanatorium as the only possible from the existence. With his cousin Joachim, situation is just opposite. He has been persistently preparing himself for a career of the military and therefore considered extra month spent in the mountains as an annoying obstacles of the way of his dreams. At some point, he does not stand up, ignoring the warnings of doctors, leaves the sanatorium, enters the military service, and receives a commission. However, very little time passes, and his illness aggravates, so he is forced to return to the mountains, but this time, the treatment does not help him, and he soon dies. Shortly before that, in the circle of friends of Hans Castorp gets a new character, a Jesuit Napta, eternal and unchanging Mr. Settembrini's opponent. Napta idealizes the medical past of Europe, condemned the very nation of progress and all embodied in this concept modern worldview civilization. Hans Castorp is in some disarray listening to the many disputes of Settembrini and Napta. He agrees sometimes with the one, then with another, then he finds contradictions, so he no longer knows who is right. However, the impact of Settembrini or Hans Castorp is so great, and the innate distrust of Jesuits so high that he is entirely on the side of the first. Meanwhile, to the resort comes back for a while Madame Chow Chow, not alone but accompanied by her new friend, a wealthy Dutchman, Peppercorn. Almost all the inhabitants of Berghof fall under the influence of his magnetic, definitely strong, mysterious. If someone tongue-tied individual, Hans Castorp feels some kind of a kinship with him because they share a love for the same woman. Once, incredibly ill Peppercorn arranged a walk to the waterfall in every way entertains his companions. In the evening, he with Hans Castorp drink brotherhood and pass on you despite the difference in age. At night, Peppercorn takes poison and dies. Soon, Madame Chochat leave the resort, and this time perhaps forever. From a certain point, some anxiety starts to grow in the soul of the inhabitants of Berghof. This coincidence with the arrival of new patient, Danish Alvin, who has some supernatural powers and particularly knows how to read minds and distance and call the spirits. Patient gets addicted to spiritualism, arranged sessions. This involves Hans Castorp despite the stinging taunts and warnings from his mentor Settembrini. It was after these sessions and perhaps as a result of them that their former measured passage of time in a sanatorium get violated. Patients quarrel and then there are conflicts in the most trifling occasions. During one of the disputes, Settembrini declares to Napta that the last with his ideas corrupts the youth. Verbal altercation leads to the mutual insults and then to a duel. Settembrini refuses to shoot and then Napta shot himself in the head. And then the thunder of the World War clap. Residents are beginning to disperse to their homes. Hans Castorp also leaves for the plane, addressed by Mr. Settembrini with words of encouragement to fight. Where are those to him by blood? Though Mr. Settembrini himself in this war is going to support another side. In the final scene, Hans Castorp is depicted running, crawling, falling with the same as he is, with young men in soldiers' uniform, trapped in the meat grinder of the World War I. The author deliberately says nothing about the further fate of his hero. A story about him is over and his life is interested only as a backdrop for the story. However, as noted in the last paragraph, Hans Castorp's hope to survive are not very promising. Magic Mountain is also a novel about disease, not merely of individuals, but also about old age, where disease appears at the prerequisite of spiritual growth. Man plays his favorite theme of the polarity between spirit and life. The transcendence of this polarity in the name of humanism is central to the novel, where disease stands as the symptoms of the moral deterioration of the capitalist and burguese order. Man is the modern writer who must concern himself with the issue of this time, to attempt to see the real in the spiritual and the spiritual is real was a fundamental maxim of his. On a still higher level, the Magic Mountain poses questions about the nature of time. Time is both the medium and the subject of the novel. In fact, as the narrator points out, bringing up a question as to whether time can be narrated or not, we have done so only to confess that we had some time, like in the view in wide ranges of experience. Time is conceived solely as the correlative of this experience. What makes the Magic Mountain so difficult to read is man's insistence that the reader become part of it. This is already implied in the foreword, where the question is posed where the narrative can ever seem too long or too short by reason of the actual time or space it takes up. The reader's role is of responding to the many associations and illusions, some subtly implied and other explicitly started, which man employs to achieve coherence by participating in the hero's real and imagined experiences. The reader becomes the true center of the novel in him, in the world, the Magic Mountain, already filtered to the hand's customer's vision, blends with his own recollection and dreams to yield a new experience.
And that's all. Thank you for listening for our book review.
So, hit that like, comment, share, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated for our next video. Thank you guys.